The aquifers are full to the brim. The land cannot drain. This is not over. Those are not the words of a journalist. They are the words of Juan Manuel Moreno, president of the regional government of Andalusia, speaking directly to millions of people about a village most of them have never heard of. Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, 10 p.m. Grazalema, a white hilltop village in the mountains of Jerez, population roughly 1,500. Families are indoors. Rain has been hammering the Sierra for hours, heavy, relentless, Storm Leonardo rain. But Grazalema has always been one of the wettest towns in Spain. Rain here is not unusual. What Álvaro Moscoso hears next is a deep creak rises through the stone beneath his feet. Not thunder, not wind, something structural, something underground. Something that has no name in the vocabulary of a village that has stood on this mountain for centuries. A few streets away, Juan Baena hears it differently, a dry, dull buzzing vibrating through the walls. Mari Ángeles Vega will later describe it in a single word: an explosion. Within 17 hours, every resident of Grazalema will be gone. The entire town emptied, not because of fire, not because of war, because the mountain beneath them has begun to move. This is what happened inside those 17 hours. The first sound has no explanation. That is the part that stays with people. Moscoso, a lifelong resident, hears what he thinks is an old wall collapsing somewhere in the village. A reasonable assumption. Grazalema is ancient, its buildings are stone, things crack. But the sound does not stop. It shifts, deepens, like moves beneath him like something adjusting its weight underground. Baena, a few streets over, is hearing something else entirely. A dry, dull buzzing, seco y sordo. Not a crash, not a bang, a vibration, low and constant, pressing through walls that have been dry and solid for as long as anyone alive can remember. Maria Fernandez, speaking later to Reuters, will put it the way most residents felt it. The pipes were creaking. We were very scared. At first we thought it was an earthquake. That instinct, earthquake, is the only reference point any of them have. The ground is not supposed to make noise. When it does, your body reaches for the nearest category of disaster that fits. But earthquakes end. They hit, they shake, they stop. This does not stop. By Thursday morning, the sound has an explanation, and it is worse than an earthquake. Water is appearing inside buildings, not leaking through roofs, not flooding from the streets outside, rising through floors, forcing itself through walls. Carlos Fernandez, a man from nearby Zahara who drove through the storm to check on his elderly parents, watches it happen in their home. The water started coming out through the floors. Think about that. Not pouring in from outside, pushing up from below. Homes that have stood for generations are becoming springs. The mountain beneath them is so saturated, so impossibly full, that water is finding every crack, every joint, every weakness in every foundation, and it is not stopping. Thursday, February 5th, 3 p.m. Geologists have been on the ground since morning. They have seen the water forcing itself through foundations. They have heard the reports from residents. They have measured what the mountain is doing. And now Mayor Carlos J. Garcia and Regional President Moreno make the call. The word they use publicly is prevención, prevention. But prevention does not require emptying an entire town. The operational reality is simpler and more urgent than the language suggests. Get everyone out. Get them out now. Get them out before nightfall. The target is staggering when you consider the terrain. Grazalema is not a suburb with highway access and parking lots. It is a mountain village, narrow streets, stone steps, winding roads carved into the Sierra with a single primary road out. 1,500 people, many of them elderly, many of them in homes accessible only on foot. All of them need to be gone before dark, during an active storm, on mountain roads that are already saturated. Evacuation begins. Our residents leave under official orders while behind them, Emergency crews are already inside their homes with tools, cutting channels into walls, carving holes through steps and foundations, trying to give the water somewhere to go. The image is one that stays with you. You are being told to leave your home while workers are cutting it open to save it. You're walking out the door carrying whatever you grabbed first, while someone behind you takes a saw to your staircase. By 8 p.m., Grazalema is empty. Under 5 hours. An entire village, its streets, its homes, its centuries of continuous habitation, evacuated. But Grazalema is not the only place being emptied that night. Across Andalusia, 7,000 people are leaving their homes. In Córdoba, 400 families evacuate as the Guadalquivir hits 5 meters. In Jerez, 14 rural zones are cleared. Grazalema is the most dramatic single evacuation. It is not the largest. By Friday morning, the logistics of displacement are becoming real. 1,500 people from a village where everyone knows, everyone are now scattered across a town that is not theirs. The first stop for most evacuees is Polideportivo El Fuerte in Ronda, a sports center that 24 hours earlier hosted basketball games and now holds families sleeping on cots under fluorescent lights, blankets from Cruz Roja, water bottles lined along folding tables, children sitting on gymnasium floors while their parents speak quietly into phones, trying to explain to relatives what happened. How do you explain that your house is still standing, but you cannot be inside it? That the floors started weeping water and the mountains started making sounds, and now you are here in a sports hall, waiting for a geologist to tell you whether your home is still your home. From Ronda, authorities begin distributing evacuees onward into hotels and apartments. 300 are moved within the first wave. The rest wait. The shelter system scaling up across Andalusia tells you the size of what is happening. Cruz Roja activates reception points in Jerez, Algeciras, El Puerto, San Roque, Córdoba, 2 locations in Arcos de la Frontera, and Ronda. 600 shelter places, over 800 beds prepared. This is not one town dealing with bad weather. This is a regional emergency apparatus spinning up to full capacity simultaneously. In Jerez, Mayor María José García Pelayo activates Situación Operativa 2, the second highest level of the city's emergency plan. The Palacio de Deport at Chapin opens as a reception center. Transport is coordinated for 14 rural zones. Command structures are established, official statements are issued, and every single one of them uses the same word: prevención, prevention. But here is what prevention looks like from the operational side. 145 roads closed across Andalusia. 2 reservoirs near Jerez approaching overflow, with emergency drainage being planned not because it is still raining, but because the water already in the system has nowhere to go. And in Sayalonga, 60 kilometers from Grazalema, a detail that shatters the careful framing of prevention entirely. On Wednesday evening, before the evacuation even began, a woman disappeared into the Trevilla River. She had gone in after her dog. Malaga Fire Chief Manuel Marmolejo confirmed what searchers found. The dog was recovered. The woman was not. While officials carefully describe everything happening across Andalusia as precautionary, the water has already taken someone. Prevention is the word they are using. It is not the word that fits. Start with Carlos Fernandez because his story is the one that will stay with you. Carlos does not live in Grazalema. He lives in Zahara, a neighboring town. When Storm Leonardo intensifies on Wednesday night, he does not stay home where it is safe. He drives through the storm through mountain roads that are already flooding to check on his elderly parents. He arrives to find their home, the house he grew up in, the house his parents have lived in for decades, turning into something none of them recognize. Water is rising through the floors, not leaking from a burst pipe, not seeping under a door, pushing up through stone and tile from the saturated mountain below. Carlos watches it happen, and later tells reporters 5 words that carry the weight of everything. The water started coming out through the floors. Think about what that drive meant. A son in a storm, on roads that are barely passable, heading toward danger because the alternative, staying safe while his parents face this alone, is not something he can live with. Carlos is not unique. He is every person watching this who has a parent in a small town, in an old house, in a place that has always been safe until suddenly it is not. Maria Fernandez, speaking to Reuters from Grazalema, anchors the psychological detail that runs beneath every other account. The pipes were creaking. We were very scared. At first, we thought it was an earthquake. That sentence matters because it reveals the moment before understanding. For a window of time, residents believed the earth was shaking beneath them. The reality, that their mountain was so saturated with water that the ground itself was adjusting under hydraulic pressure, is arguably more frightening. Because earthquakes end. They hit, they pass, you assess the damage. This did not pass. The water kept pressing. The ground kept shifting. The creaking did not stop. Across the border in Portugal, Anabela Ramalho, 59 years old, a nursing home worker in Alcácer do Sal, stands in what remains of her workplace. The Sado River has flooded everything inside. Her account is brief and total. Only the walls are left. She says she has never seen anything like it. Anabela is not in Grazalema. She is not part of the same evacuation, but she is part of the same storm, the same system, the same week in which water overwhelmed everything the Iberian Peninsula had built to contain it. And then there are the people whose names we do not know, but whose situation defines what this evacuation actually means. Grazalema is a village of 1,500, and many of those 1,500 are elderly. People who have lived on that mountain for decades. People whose parents lived there before them, in homes built by hands that have been gone for generations. They are now in hotel rooms in Ronda, sleeping in beds that are not theirs, eating meals that are not from their kitchens, while waiting for geologists to tell them whether the place their family chose, generations ago, is still a place where people can live. For a young person, evacuation is disruption. For an 80-year-old who has never slept outside their own walls, evacuation is an uprooting that may never be reversed. The cruelty is not the displacement itself. It is the uncertainty, not knowing if you will go back, not knowing if the floors that started weeping water will ever be dry again, not knowing if your home is still your home or if it belongs to the mountain now. And the 1,500 people waiting in Ronda are starting to realize that no one is giving them an answer, because no one has one. The trigger has a name: Storm Leonardo, Borrasca Leonardo, part of a sequence of winter storms hammering the Iberian Peninsula through early 2026, but each one dropping more water onto ground that has not had time to drain from the last. The immediate cause is not complicated. Torrential rain fell onto soil that was already saturated from weeks of previous storms. The mountain beneath Grazalema simply could not absorb any more. Beneath the village's narrow streets and white stone houses sits an aquifer, a layer of rock that holds water underground the way a sponge holds water in a kitchen. Under normal conditions, rain percolates slowly downward. The aquifer absorbs it. Excess drains through natural channels and the system balances. It has balanced for centuries. But 581 liters per square meter in a single day is not normal conditions. Regional President Moreno put that number into perspective publicly. Grazalema received as much rain in 16 hours as the entire Madrid region receives in a full year. One village, 16 hours. A year of rainfall for a metropolitan area of 6 million people. The aquifer filled completely. Geologists use the word colmatado, saturated to absolute capacity. When an aquifer has no room left, the water does not politely wait. It pushes, sideways through rock, upward through foundations, out through floors and walls, and every crack the pressure can find. Moreno explained the consequence in plain terms. When an aquifer fills like this, the water pressure can cause ground movements, small shifts and slides that damage streets and structures. The mountain is not collapsing, it is adjusting, and every adjustment cracks something. But here is what matters most for the 1,500 people waiting in Ronda. The rain has paused, the danger has not. Andalusian Emergencies Councillor Antonio Sanz issued the warning directly. The danger persists, even as the rain eases. The water inside the mountain does not evaporate when the clouds clear. It stays, it presses, the aquifer is still full, the ground is still saturated, Grazalema is still empty. Tonight, 1,500 people from Grazalema are sleeping in rooms that are not theirs. Across Andalusia, 7,000 are displaced. In Portugal, Anabela Ramalho stands in a nursing home where only the walls remain. A woman in Sayalonga has not been found. And in Grazalema itself, the white village on the mountain, one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements in the Sierra de Cádiz, there is no one. The streets are empty. The only movement is water, still seeping, still pressing, still finding its way through stone. Everyone who was evacuated was told the same thing. This is prevention. This is temporary. But no official has given a date for return. No geologist has said the mountain has stabilized. No engineer has said the structures are safe. The monitoring continues. The ground continues shifting. And the people waiting in hotel rooms in Ronda are beginning to ask the question that no one in authority seems willing to answer. What if we cannot go back? What if the floors never dry? What if the mountain that held this village for centuries has decided quietly, permanently, that it is done holding? The rain has stopped, the water has not, and Grazalema is still empty.